Mic check, mic check. Uh, Okay, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. You hear me? You can't hear me? You could hear me on the stream. Okay. Why? Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Okay. Yeah. Okay, because I need.
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2.
Testing 1 2.
Testing 1 2. 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2.
Do. And now. And now.
1 2 3.
1 2 1 2.
Testing 1 2.
Good evening, everyone. Is Mr. Fred Munnings there?
Good evening, Brother Ferguson. I'm here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. We want to start the podcast. And with that, we want to welcome a very vibrant group. They are here to bring some energy, they're here to bring some issues. And we're going to start with Brother Freddie Munnings, who will invoke the start of this podcast.
Thank you very much, Brother Ferguson. And we want to extend a very cordial and warm welcome to all of the guests who are assembled at the headquarters, along with our president, Mr. Obi Ferguson, KC. And as we will normally do, I would invite a member of our team, led by Brother Tyrone Butler, to lead us in prayer. I think we have the chaplain there from the Bahamas Taxi Cab Union. If he will be kind enough to open our meeting with a prayer.
Father, we give you thanks and praise for a good day. We pray, God, as we go into this meeting, we pray, God, that our hearts, our mind will be clear. We pray, God, that everyone that share in this podcast will be blessed. Guide our thoughts, guide our words. We pray that you continue to bless. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you very much. I think at this point, I would like for Mr. Obi Ferguson, KC, to open with a few words um, uh, to, um, to welcome our very special guest on this very historic podcast. I believe this may be the first of its kind with respect to the content when we are dealing specifically with a major, major challenge that's being faced by some of our colleagues, particularly at the Lyndon Pinling International Airport. There was a press conference which was held yesterday, and I believe that the president um, gave a excellent overview as to why we are at this point with this particular very vexing issue that has been going on for decades. Um, so, Mr. President Obi Ferguson, KC, will give some brief remarks, and then we will turn the meeting over to you, Mr. Moderator and host, so that we could conduct our interview with those very distinguished persons and colleagues in the room for the benefit of those who are online, not only on the Zoom, but via all of the other social networks. And just for the record, I believe that this particular podcast will be recorded for preservation and for those to listen to at some later time who may not be able to join us live. So that said, Mr. Obi Ferguson, please, your remarks.
Thank you very much. I agree with you, Mr. Munnins, that this is indeed a special event, a special occasion with such distinguished Bahamian involvement. It's very special. It's a very special event in every sense of the word. As you're well aware, the taxi drivers have been around
Recording in progress.
for a very long time. They've played a critical and a historical role in the development of this Bahamas. Had it not been for the taxi drivers, it's unlikely that we would have the Bahamas that we now are enjoying. We believe strongly that every worker in this country should benefit significantly from tourism. And you can't talk tourism unless you're talking taxi drivers. That's the way it was, that's the way it is, and that is the way it's going to be for a very long time. So the Trade Union Congress has gone on record in full support of the Bahamas Taxi Cab Union. You have a dynamic leader who is very firm. You have officers of this great union who are very committed, and you're going to hear from them in a short minute. But let me say this is a day for taxi drivers. That's the position we have adopted, and we will continue to pursue that until this matter is resolved. History shows that they are entitled to what they're asking for. The legislation in the Bahamas provides for that. And we are not going to disregard the laws of our country. So taxi drivers, when the president calls you to do whatever he thinks it is reasonable for the body, you should follow those instructions because he's fighting for every worker, not some, every worker. You will benefit as a result of the effort of him, his officers, and the affiliates of the Trade Union Congress. So just sit back, relax, and listen to them. And more importantly, when the president say go, we want you to go. That's the whole idea. Don't get into these little petty things that don't have no significance. If he says go, you go. Because he is fighting for you. And that's important. And rest assured, the Trade Union Congress will be there doing what we have to do in the best interest of taxi drivers and Bahamian workers. That's what it's all about. And this podcast is designed specifically to achieve that. So, Mr. Munnins, let me get off and put this back in your control. And I am certain that you're going to hear from some very informed Bahamian historians, I call them, because I'm so impressed with what they have done. Had a very good appearance yesterday, the Bahamian public responding to it, and this is what it's all about. So I want to thank you very much, Mr. Munnins.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And so we will move right into the discussion with our special guests. I want to first invite the President, Mr. Tyrone Butler. And if you will, it may be a good time to introduce the executives who are with you. And after that introduction, we'd like for you to give a very brief overview as to how we got to where we are. We know that you, as president, have taken over the union just a couple of years ago. But this particular problem, we understand, has been a plague to the members of your organization for decades. So, a brief historical overview may be helpful for some of our listeners who do not know, and then we will get to the meat of this broadcast to have a discussion, to inform those who are listening, and to rally those who are members of the Commonwealth of Bahamas Trade Union Congress to be in support of whatever it is that you and your executives are planning to bring this matter to a head. I know that you have been meeting for the last several weeks, maybe even months, with the administration to bring it to a head. But I believe you indicated yesterday that enough is enough and the time for talking is over. It is time to resolve the matter. So, Mr. Butler, you are invited now to make your opening remarks, introduce your executives, and then we'll go into the meat of the discussion for this evening.
Thank you very much, Brother Munnings. Very well said. Certainly, it's a pleasure for me to be here this afternoon, and I'm joined by my first Vice President, Mr. Stefano Wilkinson, Treasurer, Mr. Tommy Tucker, and a trustee, Mr. Charles Bullitt. And we're always honored to be in the presence of our Congress leader, Casey, Mr. Obi Ferguson, and our colleague from Lands and Survey, Mr. Thomas Ferguson. As you know, Mr. Munnings, we became the leadership of the Bahamas Taxi Cab Union last March. And when we got to the office, we met this union in a mess. And it was run by Mr. Wesley Ferguson for the past 6 years. We immediately sought to try to address some of the pressing issues for taxis, but chief among them was the issue with regards to the pressing matter at hand right now, which is the livery driver squatting at the airport next to the taxi drivers. That particular issue for us, and for me personally, is not a new issue. Long before I became the president, I was an advocate and I was fighting this battle. This goes all the way back to when the current Minister of Tourism, Mrs. Hannah Martin, was the Minister of Transport in the first term of Perry Christie's administration. So this matter goes back some, I want to say maybe 15 years. And that's how long I've been at this particular issue. But it's not just the fight with delivery drivers. It's also the conditions that we fight for workers at the cruise port. We have a number of taxi drivers that work in that area who are challenged with not being able to enjoy some of the basic amenities while working at nighttime. And so those are also pressing issues for us to address. So, and we've been addressing those also. We also have addressed a number of issues related to Paradise Island, particularly Atlantis. That is an area that has been a constant thorn on our side also with regards to the way taxi drivers get work from particularly the Coral, the Royal Towers, and the Cove, because that's also one of those areas where livery drivers congregate and are able to solicit jobs. Let me go back to the beginning last year, March. When I was first elected, we were an affiliate of the Bahamas Alliance of Trade Union, headed by which is now headed by Belinda Wilson. And in that Congress, the position of the taxi cab union president was he was the second vice president to Belinda Wilson. So that is the position I inherit when I got elected. I was second vice president of the Bahamas Alliance of Trade Union. About a week or two into that first meeting with Miss Wilson and the affiliates, we were surprised to discover that the Livery Association was also an affiliate member. Immediately, I made it known that being a part of the union that is also entertaining someone that we are at odds with was going to be a tough situation for us. And I made that known from day one. Mrs. Wilson sought to calm the situation and said, let's just give it a try. Let's see if we can work out something. We tried our best, and I kept saying to her that was a heavy load for me to carry. And we stayed for a couple of weeks. She did make some attempts to have a meeting with the then Minister of Transport, Mrs. Colby, NAD, and Road Traffic, to try to work out a working relationship between taxis and livery. That could not have worked for us. And so at some point, shortly after Labor Day, we made the decision to move from that alliance with Bahamas Alliance of Trade Union, and we came and decided to become an affiliate member of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas Trade Union Congress, headed by Mr. Ferguson. And, you know, Mr. Ferguson and I, we've known each other for a long time. And so it was not even a matter of where I needed to go. I knew that this would be the best fit for the Bahamas Taxi Cab Union. And he has not disappointed. This Congress has not disappointed us ever since. And so for that, we are eternally grateful for the support he and the members of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas Trade Union Congress, including yourself, Mr. Munnings, have shown us. The support has been great. And I don't think we would have been at this point or this place without the support of this Congress. And so here we are. We've made it clear to the government that we've had a number of meetings with this particular minister, some 7 meetings with him, 3 meetings with the Minister of Tourism, and to this date we have seen no tangible results from those meetings. And that is why we have decided that, you know, we can no longer continue to be talking. Even his latest press conference goes against what we would have agreed to formally in a meeting last August 5th, last week. And just today we understand now he's talking about meeting to have a discussion, to come together. And for me, that is, again, another disrespect to this union, because if we had a meeting last Wednesday and we had some agreement, how are you now asking for us to come and sit and try to work out something? Why not let's just honor what we agreed to last week in the presence of our leader, Mr. Obi Ferguson, myself, Minister of Tourism, and both of your permanent secretary and the controller. So we could start there. And it's the same thing. We saw a story just today from Ms. Belinda Wilson asking us to come to the table. Well, my message is very simple. She can start by asking her affiliate member to just follow the law. And for us, that would be a good start. Just follow the law. The law is granting or is gazetted for taxis to work at the airport. The law does not gazette any privilege for livery drivers. And so for us, if no gazette has been made for livery, then they ought not be there. And we're not prepared to work to a compromise with hackers, people who want to pretend that they're high-end drivers when they're actually hackers. And so we stand on the right side of the law, and we ask all right-thinking Bahamian who respect the law to join us. And very soon, we're going to be asking all of our members and all of our supporters, including the general public, whether you're a taxi driver or not, join us in this fight because we believe you're on the right side of the law.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Um, I just wish for you to, if you will, give us an idea. You said that when you initially became president, um, you were associated with the Alliance Group under the leadership of Belinda Wilson. And at that time, the livery drivers were a member as well of that alliance, and therefore you perceive that to be somewhat of a conflict. For the record, how long have this Liveries Drivers Association or union been in existence?
My best guess, based on what I would have been told by their president, Tory, I would say probably about 2 years, 3 years, maybe. I don't think it's 3, but it's probably about 2.
Right.
Because I remember when he showed me some documents that he was working with a union leader to get registered as a union. I had no idea that it was Miss Wilson at that time. But when they got, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to ask Casey Ferguson, leader, to perhaps look into that because they may not necessarily meet all the criterias of a registered union or organization. So that is something that, because as I understand the law, it may be a minimum of 15 persons to join a union, but there has to be an application and everybody must pay a dues.
But that is one of the reasons why I asked the question. We want to ensure that they are a registered and certified body to, first of all, have any kind of recognition in terms of bargaining unit for a particular group of workers. So that's the first point, and you said very clearly how you plan to deal with that. But I would like to just dig a little deeper. Prior to the existence of this body, how did you manage, or not you particularly, because you just became president yourself, but maybe some of the senior men in the room could tell us how were the livery drivers treated? They were unorganized, I would imagine. They would just have the liberty to do what? And how did we get to this point where this has become such a vexing issue? And you said that this goes back to the time when the Honorable Glennisana Martin was the Minister of Transport. That has to be some 15 years plus ago. So this problem has been hemorrhaging for quite a number of years. And I'm sure that there are men in the room among you who may be able to shed some light as to how you survive this kind of unruly behavior for these last 2 decades or more.
Yeah, you're right. When we got elected, and even before we got elected, as I said, I was in this fight for a long time. Prior to it getting to what it is today, back some 15 years ago, town cars and SUV were not the choice vehicles. The vehicle of choice for private cars was actually stretch limousines. And so there were a number of drivers who had limos who would go to the airport and wait in case somebody came out and didn't want to get in a taxi or didn't book a tour bus, and they wanna go to their destination in style. They would say, "Do you have a limousine available?" And they would get a stretch limo because that was the choice vehicle years ago. Over time, the vehicle of choice has changed, and town cars Lincoln Town cars and SUVs started to become more popular. And we can even see a change now. You see a lot more people are choosing the black Sprinter vans. So things change. And so most of the drivers who had limousines at the time have faded away. And so you have a new cadre of private car drivers who are now driving these limos, these liveries with the SUVs and town car. They are now, and these are new drivers who came into the industry. They're not properly socialized. They weren't properly orientated, and through political patronage, they've been allowed to squat on the taxi line at the airport. And this could not have happened years ago when we had some of the more senior road traffic officers. They would never be allowed to stand there. But even the government has changed over the years, and you see a lot of new road traffic officials, particularly the young ladies out there, and some of the road traffic people. They're just numbers. They're just bodies in uniform. They have no idea what they're doing, and so the livery drivers have become more aggressive, and they started just basically they realized that there was no consequences for their action, and they've decided to just become aggressive with the taxi drivers and hustle a job no matter what. It didn't matter that somebody wanted an SUV or a taxi; they just would take any job. So much so now that they're even telling the guests, well, if you go take that taxi, the guy has no air condition, or his car doesn't work, and they're charging you for luggage. But these are the same drivers who the Livery Association would like to have the general public believe that they are high-end drivers when they're standing there and being a nuisance to our visitors arriving at the airport. So that is how we got to where we are. And instead of the Congress on the other side admonishing their member to just follow the law, build your brand, build your business, because a lot of other livery companies have done it. You got a livery company, First Choice, headed by Anton Roca. You got a guy that works in Albany, Laurel, Clarence Higgs. You got Ken Henfield. Those are persons who have livery. Giovanni Taylor with Bahamas Luxury Cars. They don't bring their cars to the airport to hustle. Black Diamond, a young guy that used to work at the Cove. All of these are livery car drivers or livery companies that set themselves up and they wait for their business to come through their company. But these rogue drivers that come to the airport, these are the rogue hustlers. These are the hackers. These are not people with good intention. And that is why it's disappointing to hear a very prominent union leader in the name of Ms. Wilson trying to agitate for disunion to be sitting with those individuals to broker a deal. We have a Casey who was in our meeting last Wednesday who brokered a deal with us. And so we stand with that. And that's where we're going to go.
Mr. President, one last question for you before we go to your other executives. What distinguishes a taxi cab from a livery service?
The difference is really a cab can queue up or apply for hire anywhere where there's a marking that says taxi. The difference also is the fare that you pay. So the government is the one who constructs the fares for the taxi drivers. They set the rate. They give the fares for taxis are posted. It's you come out to the airport. There's a big board there that tells you what your fare will be if you take a taxi from the airport to Bahamas, the airport to Paradise Island airport. Livery drivers have no fare. They are not gazetted to be there, and so there's no fare for them. And so, which means that they can stand there and they can hustle a job and charge the customer whatever they want to do, whatever they want. And the
So
customer
you-
don't have to know that they are not a taxi because that's what they do. They misrepresent themselves to be a taxi, and only when they get to the destination, then oftentimes you will find them in a dispute on the hotel door if they came from the airport where guests are questioning, but we thought we took a taxi. And likewise, sometimes when they get to the airport, particularly from Atlanta's guests are questioning why is the fare the way it is, and they say, oh well, you came in an SUV or you came in a town car, and the guest will say, but I only asked for a taxi. So these are some of the challenges that we are confronted with, and oftentimes, you know who gets blamed? The taxi driver, because people will say, "Oh, we took a taxi and they overcharged us, or they charge us all this money." And oftentimes, when you look a little beneath the surface, you'll find that it was a livery driver that actually took the passenger.
Okay, just for the benefit of our listeners, in addition to the fare and that which you have explained already in terms of the distinguishing features of the taxi compared to the livery drivers, are the livery drivers mandated statutorily to operate from a particular place of operation?
The law calls for them to operate from their place of business. We would have shown the minister a letter from the Attorney General office way back in 2003, and the Attorney General at the time, I think, was Milton Evans. We showed him a letter indicating that that is how livery is to operate according to the Road Traffic Act in Section 78. And so that is why there's no gazetting of livery. And you go anywhere around this island, you go downtown, you'll see yellow markings that say taxi or loading zones or bus stop. You will never see a marking on the ground that says livery or limo, because those are reserved services that is prearranged and should be booked either by oral conversation or written conversation, written document. So that is the distinguished difference between taxi and livery. The government gazettes certain zone for taxis, but not for liveries. Liveries are not gazetted to work as they do now next to taxi drivers. It's just not part of the landscape of the ground transportation.
And so when you say that they are to operate from their place of business, does that mean that they can operate from a inside their vehicle, or does that mean they can operate from some designated spot outside of a taxi stand, or do you understand that to mean that they should operate from their established registered place of business?
Well, with technology, the way it is now, they can operate outside of their cars, but they cannot physically be on a taxi stand. That's the difference between what we are arguing here. They are standing on the taxi stand at the airport. If they want to be in the parking lot waiting on their customer to call them on the internet or WhatsApp or whatever, and say, hey, I'm outside, can you pull around and pick me up? We have no problem with that if they book their business that way. What we don't subscribe to is that their presence is right on the taxi stand. There's only one taxi stand at the arrival section at the airport. There's no taxi and livery stand. There's one taxi stand. And the livery drivers ought not to be on the taxi stand soliciting. That is our issue with this matter. And that is why we continue to have differences about this matter. And it is disappointing to see that 3 ministers of tourism under this PLP administration cannot figure that out. Minister Hannah Martin, Minister Colby Davis, and now Minister Lundy. It's a joke to see that 3 ministers, 2 of them I know are lawyers. And so as a layperson, if I understand it, I'm very disappointed that Hannah Martin and Colby can't figure it out, and particularly Mrs. Hannah Martin, because truth be told, she is kind of like one of the main architect of this mess, and so she bears a lot of the responsibility. She knows better, and she should do what is in the best interest of not only the country but the government, and making sure that her colleague is being given good advice.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Let's move now to your Vice President, Brother Wilkinson. You are a veteran transportation provider over the years, very popular young man, not only as a traffic transportation provider, but one of the leading Junkanoo groups in the country. So you carry a lot of weight, and we would like to hear now from you. Um, what where do we go from here? You've heard your president. Um, from your experience, what do you think is at the core of this tolerance by the respective ministers of government to allow this serious, vexing problem to fester over these many years?
Good evening. My name is Stefano Wilkinson, Vice President of Bahamas Taxi Cab Union. The issue is, true, we hear this talk that some persons of authority have some vested interest in these vehicles because we realize that the ordinary driver who coming and driving these vehicles, for the length of time that I've been in the business, over 25 years, these drivers who just coming in is nowhere that in terms of even can afford some of these vehicles. So it has to be somebody behind the scene that has some invested interest in these vehicles. And furthermore, to go back on what the president said, these franchises was only known to be under companies, tour companies, because in the beginning of when I first drive, like I said, Majestic Tours and Leisure Tours, the rest of these companies has these same franchises. I always ask the question, suppose they decide to say, okay, since the government allowed delivery to be on the same line as taxi, suppose they take their staff and put them on the same lineup or even go put their number down like the delivery drivers doing in the rotation, and they come in the lineup and say, okay, well, if you all allow this franchise to be, and we have the same franchise, we're going to join this line also. So then where is that going to go in terms of conversation? Because like I say, all these big tour companies have the same franchise as delivery drivers. And if they join the line, then that'd be another story again. You know?
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Mr. Tucker, I know that you were in the meeting with the respective ministers and permanent secretaries last Wednesday. I think it was the 5th, the president indicated. What was your understanding from that meeting when you left with those ministers as to the period that we will designate as a trial period to see if we could resolve this matter? What did you take away from that meeting?
Okay, Mr. Manners, Mr. Tucker just stepped out 1 second, but
Okay.
I can answer on that.
You can respond, yes.
Yeah, they promised. I mean, like I said, you all were there in the meeting, and they said that we were going to start that Monday, the trial run to see in the era of them putting 3 of delivery vehicles in the rear of the taxi drivers, and stating that when I heard the Minister of Tourism asked road traffic if he's ready with his team to execute this plans that they want to do. He said he is ready, but give him until, because we wanted to start it on Friday, he said give him until Monday to put his team together. Myself, along with the president, went and we spoke with the drivers at the Independent Airport to let them know that, hey, come Monday, we're going to execute a trial run in order to see where the taxi drivers and delivery drivers, knowing that they're not going to have a dispatcher on the door. Like I said, after having discussions, we met with them about 7 times. They said agreed that we're going to start on Monday. I mean, all of a sudden, Monday became a different Monday. The Monday that they said they're going to start it, but it would only be like 4 days away. And like I said, we prepared our people to make sure, put the cars in line and have dispatchers there, prepared to accommodate what they agreed on. And here comes Monday, when we did put necessary persons and drivers where they're supposed to be, all of a sudden delivery drivers decide to rise up and they want to have this, what they so-called, they said the premature demonstration. I can't, how you say, have premature demonstration. Now you're willing to bring all your cars out the lot and place them in the area where the original tour companies, some of the big tour companies like Majestic and Leisures, and they place them in their slot. They say you're now having a premature demonstration. I can't see no premature demonstration if you putting your cars there. Okay, not say you walk there, you put your cars there. So as how to get a premature destination, and then it's so bad that the authorities, when they were called in, who they came targeting at? Taxi drivers. Always low fence. We in our place, but yet still the authority came with the necessary people, and who they come at? And then we realized that they were called in for the delivery drivers from not who saying that the delivery drivers trying to take a stand this morning, but yet still the authority came at the president and said, listen, what is going on? And the president had to say, hold on, we are straightforward. We have our drivers queue up where they're supposed to be. They ain't have nothing to do with us.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. I think I see Mr. Tucker has
Yeah,
come
he's
back
back.
to the room.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tucker, we had asked the question before, while you were out of the room, what was your recollection of the meeting with the respective ministers and permanent secretaries? And your colleague, Brother Wilkinson, very ably assisted with that answer. But from your perspective, having heard what the respective ministers had agreed to, were you surprised on Monday when you found that the agreed conditions were not being implemented? And further, to get a message from the Minister of Transport that he is expecting some kind of walkabout. Was that ever discussed during the discourse of our meeting with the ministers on that Wednesday, August 5th?
Good afternoon again, Mr. Freddie Munnings. I just taken aback on what was said on, I think it was August the 5th, and we were supposed to start on the 10th. I was, I don't know how to put the words in the context. That's bamboozled by what happened on Monday, because we had the ministers in the meeting, discussed the plan going forward for Monday morning along with the control of road traffic. Him putting in some of the senior officers to make sure the system run effectively for the 2 weeks trial that they promised to give us. But come Monday morning, somebody dropped the ball. And so we are back to square one. That's where we are.
And what is it that you believe the Honorable Minister of Transport hopes to achieve by having some walkabout when he, along with the Minister of Tourism, had agreed to a plan of action that we all agreed to?
Mr. Munnings, I think there's a conflict between the two of those individuals. Two of them in the meeting, I think they are on two different tunes. Because there's no way possible two educated individual, Mr. Lundy and Glandasano Martin, could come up with two different conclusions after leaving at the meeting.
Thank you very much. I think Mr. Butler is Charles there, Bullard? Mr. Bullard, I think. No, Mr. Bullard.
He stepped out.
He stepped out? Okay, then let's go back to the president then. Mr. President, what is it, in your opinion, that could bring resolve to this matter? What has to happen?
Well, one of the first things I think should happen is the minister or ministers, both of them, they should acknowledge what we agreed to August 5th. That would be a good place for us to start. And I think if we start there, I think we stand a chance of bringing resolution to the matter. But I don't know that they have it within them to do what is right.
The minister of transport said you and the president of the delivery drivers should get together and work it out.
Well, I don't know how he could say that when he already told us on Wednesday that there was going to be this arrangement where we would no longer have to be contented with delivery drivers standing next to the taxi drivers hustling jobs. So, how did he get to we should get together now? Get together again? We didn't agree, we didn't achieve the first arrangement, and you want us to start talking about making another arrangement? So how much talking does he wants us to keep doing? And all I would say to the minister is at some point he needs to man up to his responsibility and stop trying to make these promises that he know he's not prepared to live up to. As I said to you before earlier, it's very disappointing when you would have met with one minister more than 7 times and you have nothing to show for it. So for us, the starting line right now is August 5th. It doesn't matter what he say or anybody else say. The starting line for us is August 5th. We have to start there. Once we start there, then I think we'll be in a position to entertain any other discussions. But the starting line for us is August 5th.
And by that you mean for them to acknowledge and live up to and honor the agreement that was reached during that meeting on August 5th.
Absolutely.
Mr. Bullet, I think you're back in the room. The president and your colleagues were just giving us a review of that meeting. You were in that meeting. And I believe I recall the minister talking and emphasizing the importance of enforcement. And the newly appointed acting director of controller of road traffic further emphasized that he will bring in his senior men and women to make sure that enforcement was the order of the day. What is your take on what's happening? Are the rules being enforced at the airport as far as you can see?
No, sir. I was very disappointed on Monday um, when I heard what went down with delivery drivers, and then further, you know, with the minister coming on and saying that he wants us to go into further discussions with the leader of the Congress, with Belinda Wilson, and he want our leader, Mr. Obi Ferguson, KC, to we all come into a meeting to further discuss this. We was already over deliberations on the last day we met at the the Ministry of Tourism.
Did you get any indication from the ministers or the PSs in that meeting on the 5th that they had the authority to make an agreement with us?
Yes, as far as I concerned, the that was sealed, and everything's supposed to start at Monday, and we had a 2 weeks trial.
Was there any indication from any of those ministers or PSs that they had to go back to somebody else to get approval before they could make such a commitment?
No, sir.
So therefore, we left that meeting believing that there was an agreement,
Yes, sir.
and that agreement has not been upheld.
No, sir.
What is the next step, Mr. Brother Bullet, for you and us
Well,
and your members?
like my leader, the president, say that we're gonna go back to the taxi drivers. We're gonna talk it over, and then we would move forward.
Very good. Thank you so very much. I'm now going to turn the meeting back over to our moderator. I know that there are some people in the audience who may want to ask a question or make a comment, and he will have control of that. So, Brother Ferguson, would you now conduct the podcast from this point on?
Thank you so much, Brother Munnings. And for those of you who are on the podcast, if you have any questions, could you please raise your hands? And then we're going to ask you to unmute in the order so that we can have some direct questions from you. And just let us know your name and who you would like to direct your question towards. So if anybody at this time wants to put any questions forward or they have a comment, could you please raise your hand at the moment? Okay, we don't seem to have any hands raised. We will keep monitoring. And so as we continue, I'd just like to turn it back to the president so that he could make some comments as to his views and, just some brief comments and see if there's anything else that he feels needs to be addressed that was not addressed.
Thank you again, Brother Moderator, Brother Ferguson. You know, this issue with the government and the taxi drivers and the livery drivers, it ought not be the way it is. It's something that we feel that any responsible government should not allow this matter to go on as long as it did. And so at some point, I'd like to call on the Prime Minister that he may wish to, find another Minister of Transport because this particular minister seems not able to move this matter along. So at some point, he has to make a decision. We are not here to tear down any part of this economy, but we are not going to sit by and allow a handful of rogue public service drivers believe that they can bully their way onto our turf, take away our work, all because they want people to believe that they are high end or they are better than taxi drivers. If you really believe you're a high end driver and you're above taxi drivers, as their president sometimes like to refer, then you should act like it. You should behave like it. Your behavior, your conduct, your whole demeanor should represent what you say you are. Livery drivers who wants to be known as high end should never want to stand on a taxi stand soliciting. If you do that, you are rendering yourself to be nothing more than a high-end hacker or a dressed-up taxi driver, because that's what you are. And you know what is so sad? I had to correct the minister the other day. Even NAD, it's a disgrace that NAD even is drinking the Kool-Aid from them. Because if you go to the airport right now, you will see a sign up there that says Black Car Service. What a bunch of foolishness. Can you believe a big corporate partner like NAD, Nassau Airport Development Company, headed by the CEO, Ms. Wernice Walkin, has allowed her company to put up a sign that does not exist in law? You got a big sign up there saying Black Car Service. There's no such thing in the Road Traffic Act in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas called Black Car Service. So why would they even put up a sign that says Black Car Service? So it seems like everybody these livery drivers are able to dictate to these so-called leaders who have no ability to rationale what is good public discourse when it comes to ground transportation.
Thank you, Mr. President. And so, Mr. Vice President, are there any other comments that you'd like to make? Anything that you can think of that maybe you didn't say before? So, any additional comments?
To pertaining to the airport or the overall in terms of the taxi service itself?
Well, it's up to you. Any comments that you feel that you want to make at this
Well,
time?
I am bent on signage. Okay, I know I'm traveling. I travel quite a number of time throughout the Caribbean and European, and I know when you go to an airport, there's signage everywhere that you can locate either your luggage or transportation or lead to. I'm asking, I asked the Minister of Transport and the Ministry of Tourism. Downtown, I was keep on asking that we need to have signage erected for handicap, loading zones, and taxis, simply because they used to put marking on the ground. The marking on the ground was at one point was pretty good back then, but now that this is modern day, where you have guests are passing up and down on Bay Street, whereas the driver will have to be there shouting taxi voices. If they see the sign and they walk at a certain distance, they know where they can come back and obtain a taxi. The reason that is because our vehicle is designed different. The guest doesn't know about the plates, or even, like I said, we have signs on our cars. But if they're looking for a sign, whereas they can pass by, or even, like I said, even the police can give somebody a citation. If you park in a handicap sign spot, which is erected sign showing where you cannot park there, but putting the marking on the ground, I can drive my personal car over that marking and you wouldn't even know that sign is allotted for handicap or even for a taxi or even for a loading zone. And it seems like it's so difficult for them to just put signage in places which is designated for these vehicles to park. I mean, we have traveled, we go away, and when we go in any parking lot, you'll automatically see a handicap sign or babysitting area or whatever different parking areas that you cannot park. And the same thing go to the airport. When coming from away, you'll never see a sign in the airport. There was no sign stating where you can get ground transportation unless when you walk outside of the terminal. And that's why by then all the different people rushing up on the guests and trying to make themselves known that they are transportation providers, until I had to bring it to Ms. Watkins and her staff attention that there was no signage from immigration all the way down outside of the international airport, which is supposed to be an international airport. Until they realize what I'm saying, and then they started putting up these signs, And it's sad to know we said, and listen to the wording, international airport. And here it is now, you tell me now we having all this fight in terms of transportation and soliciting or whatever. I mean, even in the airport, there's two big clearly signs said no soliciting, no loafing. But here said you have everybody and their grandmother out there doing what they feel like doing. Because the authorities doesn't take our international airport serious. They just thought it's a way to come from away and that's it. They're not looking at the possibility of safety. Okay? Here it is, we had an incident where a police officer got shot when they was making a deposit from Bahamas, and I thought by then the level of security around that airport was going to skyrocket if nothing happened. Here it is, one night I was out there waiting on some guests to come from Cayman. I watched a car, drove up to the door, plugged their electrical car in, almost an hour and 45 minutes, and no security came and said, hey, how can you park your car up here? That can be a car of explosive. The people in authority got to understand this country and take it serious for what it is. We just can't just go every day happy-go-lucky and praying that nothing happened. And a lot of things happen simply because it's extended from one thing to the other.
Thank you so much, sir. Some very insightful comments. And we'll just go back to Mr. Tucker. You can just give us some final comments, anything that you can think about, anything that you think you may have missed that you think needs to be said.
Once again, good afternoon, colleagues, Truly, today has been a good day. It's been a refreshing day for all of us. And as the president said, and the vice president, the executive, Charles Bullitt, and I extended TUC president, Mr. Ferguson, we are in this together. And we will not stop until we see some results. We will continue to fight for the drivers out there. And we is not going to give up. We just want our space as cab drivers in the industry. We want to be respected as business people. You have about 2,000 cab drivers who comes out every day to provide for their families. And it's unfortunate that you have only a handful of hired hackers, like the president said, dressed up, but they are modern day hackers, taking whatever the crumbs left from the table without being supervised by the enforcement of the government. So we are calling on those persons who are in charge to do their job. That's why we're asking them to do their job and follow the laws of the country. Where there is no order, there's chaos. And they created this monster, they created this chaotic situation at the airport because they don't want to fix it. And so I rest on that moral. Either they fix it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tucker. And just in respect of time, we'd like to have some final thoughts, a final word from Mr. Bullitt. Then we'll have a final word from the president, and then a final word from President Obie Ferguson. So, Mr. Bullitt.
Good day once again. I just would like to reach out to the government and just, to let them know that in this event, please, we want you to be proactive instead of retroactive. Persons out there, somebody could get hurt. And we need you to fix this matter before somebody get hurt. We about to gather ourselves together. So we need you to step in and fix this problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bullitt. And then President Ferguson, sorry, President Butler, if we could have some final words from you, please.
Well, I just would like to say that I feel very confident that we are on the right side of this issue. I believe the public support us. We know that the majority of taxi drivers out there support us. We're going to continue this fight for the betterment of all the taxi drivers. And we're not going to relent simply because some trade union leader thinks it would be in our best interest to meet. We are going to continue our fight as long as we are part of this Congress, because we feel confident that KC, Mr. Ferguson, our president, has our back. And so we are confident that we have what it takes to win this battle.
Thank you so much, President Ferguson. Just to culminate everything that we're doing now, we're going to turn over to President Obie Ferguson, KC, for your final comments, sir.
Thank you very much. I sat here and I listened to the president and his officers, and they just gave me additional commitment, caused me to make additional commitment to ensure that all of the affiliates of the TUC are properly briefed on this matter. So if and when he decides, as president of the union, to do what has to be done, there'll be no doubt that we are one, and together we are stronger. We must look out for Bahamians. And we're going to ask all Bahamians, whether you're a taxi driver or not, whether you're a financial member in the union or not, when the president rang the bell, we would want to ensure that all workers, because when your day comes, We will be there with you. This is our country. We must be the major contributor and the beneficiaries of this little Bahama land. We work hard. Our parents, our grandparents work hard to make this thing what it is. So what are we doing? We're building a country for foreigners? We can't do that. They can come. We don't say they can't come, but we got to make sure Bahamians benefit. That's the key. That's your commitment. Don't be ashamed to say that because they're not ashamed to get the benefits that they're getting. So we are going to stand with the taxi drivers. That's our position. That's the position of the Trade Union Congress. We have always supported unions that have issues, and this is a major issue because tourism is our number one industry. And we are not benefiting to the extent that we should be benefiting. You have the tourists come in at 6 o'clock in the morning, and by 6 o'clock that afternoon, they're gone. Tell me why can't we have a cultural show exhibiting Bahamian culture? That would mean the president would have to have his men take them from wherever they're from to wherever they're going to go. An hour and a half show, they come, the president would then have his taxi men to pick them up and take them back so that they can get on their flight back home on that plane, on that boat around 6 o'clock in the evening. What are we doing? What are we doing for the little man? Is the little man, and I said $260 a week is not adequate. That's my position. That's the TUC's position. That's our position. We got to build our country, but we got to build our people as well. So, Mr. President, I repeat it again. We with you. We with the taxi cab union. Sir Clifford Darling would be very, very disappointed to know, right, that this is what we have to do. But we have to do what we have to do. Some people need help. Some people need to push them a little bit. Well, we will do what the president say. The president say, let's go, we going. Simple. No if and ands about that. We ain't threatening nobody. We want them to do the right thing. The law is clear. It says what it says. And these people, you have 20 people or 30 people controlling 2,000. How you figure that out? That doesn't make sense. So we are with this union, and we are with all of our affiliates. They know we would stand with them when the need be, whatever the situation is. And Mr. Munnins, I would want to take this opportunity before I close by commending you for the manner in which you conducted those questions, and you have extracted from these distinguished officers of this union why all Bahamian workers, all Bahamians, period, to come out when the president speak the word, we would also be there to back him to make sure that taxi drivers be resumed in the position they were in when people like Sir Randall Fox, people like Sir Clifford Darling, who was the president of the taxi cab union, Wilbert Morse, who was was an officer at the time. These men put in quite a bit to make this Bahamas what it is. And look what we're doing. Just look what we're doing. And some of us are afraid. I don't know what they're afraid of. If you can't feed your family, they ain't gonna be with you in any event. You got to feed your family, take care of your family. This is their form of survival. It's like me. I practice law. If I don't practice law and make some money, I would have no family. I would have nobody around me. If my kids would abandon me. These men want to work. They get up 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, just to get a job. And look what we're trying to do. Have 30 or 40 people, whatever the number is, to control 2,000. That building down on the street where the unions should be, the government should take responsibility to work with the president and the officers to revamp that, to change that building. No other country will allow that to happen. No other country I know will do that. And I travel extensively. And everywhere I go, I see something for working people. I see labor buildings. You go to Jamaica or Barbados or Guyana, wherever. So all this new group of officers are doing, they want to continue to have a decent life. And they have great ideas. You talk to some of these taxi drivers, they'll give you some initiatives will be a new revenue source of income for this country. But you gotta listen to them. This is what they've been doing now for over 70 years. You listen to somebody who's gonna come and try to wipe you out in 3 years, 3 years existence? No, you can't. That's not proper. It's not proper. So Clifford Allen, you see what happened to National Insurance Building? Where'd that come from? Who was the leader of the taxi cab union? You have a couple distinguished people. Gomez was one, and Nixon was one, and some others. Now you have a real leader who is prepared to do what has to be done. And I am really, Mr. President, let me say, man, I'm pleased of your tenacity and your commitment, man, and your men. You know, I mean, this is what it's all about. And we can be with you, man. I'll have my stick on my other leg. I'll have three legs as opposed to two. But I will make a point and do what has to be done for the workers. So, Fred, I want to thank you very much, and I want to thank our distinguished um, um, technical man here, Mr. Ferguson. You know, he's an incredible man, to be honest with you. And I know tomorrow he's going to be doing some other stuff. And he's going to organize what's going to happen tomorrow. And so, Mr. President, stay firm, man. You know, check with him. People talking nonsense. We ain't into that. We into doing things for Bahamian workers. Simple. So I want to thank you very much, Mr. Ferguson. And Fred, it's my second time I'm thanking you because I thought you did a very comprehensive job. Right? Okay. So maybe what we'll have to do for you, Fred, we'll have to give you some kind of a special award. And I'm certain Mr. President from the Taxi Cab Union would have no difficulty doing that. So thank you very much. Right.
Thank you so much, President Obi Ferguson, KC, and Mr. Fred Munnings. Could you please close us out before we end the podcast?
Thank you very much, Brother Ferguson, and to the our leader, Sobe Ferguson, KC. Thank you very much for your kind sentiments. But you know, I'm a creature of instructions. I learned that from you. And when you give a directive, we must follow it, as you are directing us now to follow the president of the Bahamas Taxi Cab Union. We will be on call. I noticed that there are some of our very prestigious union leaders on this call with us, particularly Brother Deron Brooks, who's the president of the Bahamas Immigration and Customs Union, a very, very important union, particularly in relationship to what we're dealing with at the international airport, and others who have joined us. We thank you so very much. And so I'd just like to say it's a pleasure always to be a part of this august body, the body that is leading the charge in the fight for workers in this country, whether it's living wage, whether it's justice, whether it's unfair dismissal, or whatever it may be. You will find the Commonwealth of Bahamas Trade Union Congress in the forefront, fighting for the uh, justice for workers. So, Mr. Butler and your very, very distinguished executives, thank you for participating this evening. This is what it's all about. We are here to help each other to get the word out. And as I said, this podcast has been recorded, so I'm sure you can get a copy of it that you can distribute among your membership, so they could see that you and your men, you and your executives are representing them to the highest authority as we strive to bring justice and resolution to this very vexing problem. And that said, I'd like to invite Brother Tucker once again to invoke God's blessings and guidance as we leave this place.
Our gracious Father, we thank you, God, for what has been done this day. And God, you designed this day, this time that we come in this
Episode. Our podcast is going to be booming. This is a very monumental occasion here, very momentous, and we're going to share the live stream with you so you can share it with whoever you want to share it. Thank you for all of those who came online as well. Thank you for your participation and listening. And we look forward to our next podcast. So stay tuned. Great things are coming ahead. And solidarity forever.